Yay, 1950s! Well, the progressives have done it again. In their quests for racial justice, they've brought us another step backwards. I'm gonna show you this, and I think it's funny because later you're gonna see how Seattle just exposes itself, like a lot of blue cities do. Alright, look at this. Seattle libraries implement racial segregation in the name of social justice. Now take a look at this picture. What does this look like? Hang on. Let me tweak one thing. Alright. Now what does this look like? Alright, look at this. The King County Library in Washington State have been holding separate but equal training sessions for their employees, all in the name of social justice. You know, real talk, part of me wishes that the government doesn't crack down on this crap in terms of city or state governments, so we really get to see where all the segregationists are going to be, and hopefully encourage people to move away from these areas. But then another part is like, yeah, that's a terrible idea. But I really want to see what cities and states will expose themselves. Okay, moving on. According to Chris Rufo, filmmaker is the director of the Discovery Institute's Center on Wealth and Poverty at the King County Library System, a private counseling firm called Racial Equity Consultants. Wow, that sounds like a really fancy scam you got going there. Alright, recently held racially segregated listening sessions as part of the library's ongoing racial justice programs. No, this is disgusting. Imagine they implement this in other parts of the city, and I show up. Where do I go? I'm serious, I don't know where I go. Okay, let's say you go by what you look like, and I come with my family. We're all getting separated. We're all gonna get split up. Let's say a black dude comes in and he's got a white wife or girlfriend. They're gonna be split up. If this crap continues, it really will encourage not just actual segregation, but self-segregation too. You're gonna see people of other races sort of avoiding each other because they're gonna be like, nah, I don't want to get in a relationship with her. I don't want to be friends with them because it's just too much of a hassle. We'll be getting split up all the time. Oh, God. Alright. The consultants begin with an anti-oppression framework. Oh my God, I love it. Here's our anti-oppression framework. Separate but equal. Alright. And use segregated sessions in order to root out institutional privileges and systematic inequities embedded in the current socio-political conditions that influence and affect our institutions. Okay, let's go back to separate but equal. Was that separate but equal? Let's be honest now. If these schools, these institutions, do you really think they're going to allocate the fundings evenly between the white classes and the black classes and the Latino classes? Something tells me no. But don't worry, this will get rid of the inequities. Okay, the consultants discovered widespread institutional racism in the library system and dismissed employees who reported not experiencing or witnessing racism while working at KCLS. Hang on, I want to stop right here for a minute. The consultant discovered widespread institutional racism. Who runs these institutions? I'm pretty sure the right doesn't control these institutions because the right has lost every institution, or even the church. Looking at you, Pope.
Man, good.
Okay, now I'm gonna go over this part one more time. Look at this. And dismissed employees who reported not experiencing or witnessing racism while working at KCLS as likely suffering from the false consciousness of internalized racism. Holy crap. So you guys, this is how it works. Either you're a black person who's a victim of racism at every turn, or you're Joe Patrick. When reached by email, Racial Equity Consultant said it was not authorized to comment. Yeah, I wonder why. Although maybe these institutions aren't racist because the right said there is no institutional racism. Just something to think about. Okay, Rufo told the Post-Millennial that pictures of the signs for the training sessions he posted on social media today came from a whistleblower and reminded him signs on segregated water fountains in the 1950s. Yeah. Segregation was wrong in the 1950s and it's wrong today, especially in King County, named after Martin Luther King Jr., Rufo said. Why is everywhere named after Martin Luther King, like, bad? No, I'm asking a serious question. Any city or state with a Martin Luther King Boulevard, it's usually not a very safe place to go. Oh, this is funny. According to Rufo, similar sessions are being held at the Veterans Administration's Puget Sound, VAPS, facility, and the King County Prosecutor's Office. You know what's funny? Hey, if you want to make racists in the military not racists, just take a white nationalist and a black nationalist, put them in the squad together, and wait for the bullets to start flying. That attitude will change real quick. Here we go. The local leadership has launched a series of racially segregated caucuses for individuals who identify as white, individuals who identity as African American or black? Okay. And individuals who identity as people of color. You guys, I have no idea what identify as black, identify as white, and identify as people of color. What the fuck does that mean? Is that like, here's the whites, here's the African Americans and blacks, and then people of color, and then just throw the rest together. The Latinos, the Indians, the Native Americans. Just chuck them all in the others. King County Prosecutor Gans Satterberg and senior staff has recently required employees sign an equity and social justice pledge and assigned continued training for white employees who must do the work to learn the true history of racism in our country. Rufo said that every time he writes an article or posts pictures from the sessions, more whistleblowers come forward. I haven't found the pictures of these contracts yet, but if somebody finds them or I find them, I'm going to put an update because I really want to read these. So it goes on to say things like critical race theory in King County is being put in the elementary schools. Great, wonderful, let's just breed racists. Man, poor kids, dude. Man, the most stressful part of me being a kid was trying to shoot all the credits in Melee to get towed. Fucking Daniel, you liar. Now they're just dragging kids into all this political nonsense. Earlier this year, the post-millennial exposed critical race theory practices and curriculum being practiced and taught in schools. Seattle Public Schools released a plan to bring students back into the classroom from remote learning, but differentiated the priorities for who should come back first based on many factors, involving a measure of those who are most marginalized per the guidelines. Students further from educational justice, I don't know what that means, and students of color would be given priority on returning to school for face-to-face instruction. Wow, you guys are racist! This really feels like an inverted back of the bus. So the documents basically, when they say serve all elementary students first, and then they go on to say basically there's a hierarchy. And on this hierarchy that we're looking at right here, you can see white people don't even appear on this. Neither do Latinos or Asians, it's just black. The only logical one in here that should come first back to school, I would say, is homeless kids, because they don't even have Zoom classes anyway. Unless maybe they go to the library. But they can't go to the library because it's institutionally racist, so they should stay away from there. No? Yeah? I don't know. Look at this, look at this. This past summer, Seattle Public Schools Superintendent Denise Janu sent an email to students saying, "This county has a long history of oppressing people of color, especially black and African American people." Who runs Seattle, everybody? You're accidentally exposing yourself. These people project their racism onto others, not realizing that they're accidentally exposing themselves. And then they go on to say they're oppressed by the police of Seattle, which I've seen some stuff about the police from Seattle. Fuck them. I don't care for them. And that strictly goes for the bad cops, obviously. Look at this. Students in Washington as young as 11 years old refer to a riot as an uprising and rioters as freedom fighters, and that cops are racist. Students were even encouraged to donate bail funds that have recently been tied to helping release an accused child rapist. I think I know the case they're talking about. What was his name? It's Timothy something. I can't remember his name. And you know they're teaching kids this. No kids look at this and say these things. They wouldn't call them rioters. They wouldn't call them freedom fighters. They wouldn't say uprising. And the kids wouldn't be... Okay, here's the problem with the cops are racist thing. I think there's a problem on the left and the right. And I mean the left progressives, like the white progressives and the more bougie people, the like more bougie liberals. They have no clue in the black community where the sentiment "fuck the police" came from. It didn't just poof out of midair, and it wasn't just randomly the black community saying, I don't like police. Okay, there's a lot more to it than that. So then it goes on to the curriculum of the Adams Elementary School, where they have links to, for Black History Month, they have links to what they're teaching them about progressive ideology, including racism against whites, sexual topics, anti-police, glorifying racist politicians, and even recommending anti-Israel books written by known anti-Semites. The social justice reading recommendations. Well, we're going to take a look at those in a second. And this is a photo from an elementary school. And they have the classic fence analogy for equality. Now, my version of this is the libertarian version of the fence. We just tear down the fucking fence. There, problem solved. Now everybody can see. So, if we're going to look into what they're teaching, here's some of it. Restorative justice. Empathy and loving engagement, because we all know the left is for that. We all know their empathy towards black Trump supporters. Tuesday, diversity and globalism. Wednesday, trans affirming, queer affirming, and collective value. I don't even know what the hell that means. Thursday, intergenerational black families and black villages. And Friday, black women and unapologetically black. I don't know what the fuck unapologetically black means. Look at this. This is scary. Look at this one bullet point. Self-study topics that increase your understanding and awareness of the BLM movement and critical race theory. We do not need children learning about a racist ideology. Let them be kids. But this is because the left has to go for kids. Because in the marketplace of ideas with adults, they don't win. This is why they like to target kids. Some are even coming after homeschooling because they don't want any kids away from the narrative. The schools should not be teaching your kids values. You should be teaching your kids values. And if your school is teaching this crap, get your kids out of there right now and put them in another school or homeschool them. I'm serious. Look at this. Over the summer, the Post-Millennial uncovered that University of Washington has decided to create race-based caucuses and affinity groups to help organizations to advance equity and diversity and inclusion goals by providing a formal resource for staff and leaders to acknowledge and discuss and dismantle oppressive systems from within by starting the difficult conversations. University of Washington segregated these caucuses into 3, the Black Caucus, the People of Color Caucus, and the White Caucus. Each has their own separate meeting schedule. Where do I go? I can go in any of these 3. Because critical race theory and these people don't take into account mixed people. They don't exist to them. Considering, I believe they're the smallest minority in the US at something like 3.5% or something. In digging further into the University of Washington source list and what is truly behind this exercise, it also recommends the book In Defense of Looting. Now, the person who wrote In Defense of Looting, I want to take a quick look at this lady. She had an interview with NPR. I'm going to preface this by saying, one time a long time ago, it wasn't that long ago, it was like maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I met this nice girl. Parents, huge racists. Never allowed to talk to anybody who was not white. She finally just talked to me out of curiosity because she thought my hair was fake. But her views came from ignorance and being kept in the dark, not out of genuine hate. But a lot of the things she was learned from her parents that she was saying that were horrible things. This lady who wrote In Defense of Looting sounds exactly like her. This lady sounds like an actual white supremacist. And I'm going to highlight one quote in particular that made me go, holy shit. Because this is who your kids are learning from. This is who your college kids are learning from. Look at this. This is the question. I have heard a lot of talk about white anarchists who weren't part of the movement, but they just came in to smash windows and make a ruckus. Look at this. It's a classic trope because it jams up people who might otherwise be sort of sympathetic to looters. There's a reason Trump embraced the white anarchist line so intensely. It does a double service. It both creates a boogeyman around which you can start fear and a potential repression, and it also totally erases the black folks who are at the core of the protests. It makes invisible black people who are rising up and initiating this movement, who are at its core, its center, and who are doing its most important and valuable organizing and the most dangerous fighting. Holy shit. So what about the white people rioting? What about the white people? They're just sympathetic to the looters. They're not the looters. That's the black people. It's just a boogeyman to distract you. Us generous white people are lending these monkeys our sympathy because they don't know any better. Thanks, lady, but go fuck yourself. Good to see they're teaching our kids from an actual white supremacist, because this actually sounds what I told you the story. I met somebody. She doesn't sound that different. She just sounds a little nicer. That pretty much sums up everything. The rest is just going over one other group, the Washington State Department of Youth and Family Services, doing the same thing. But remember, all these places they are claiming are the systemically racist places, and we have to root out systemic racism. Why are they all the blue places? Now, some might argue because those areas outside of this, the more red places, are more ethnically homogenous, but that's not fully true. Go to border towns that are red. You don't see this crap. Where you're going to see a lot of black people, a lot of Mexicans, a lot of other South Americans, and you don't see this crap. Because if this has been continuing in your city, maybe Trump isn't the problem. Maybe you're the problem, and you're projecting it onto Trump.